Okay. Well, today's December 20th, 2023. If everybody will mute yourselves so that we don't get any background noise, and except for Debbie, you can leave yours. So I'm real excited about today. Debbie Renna Hynes. I've known Debbie since she joined EXP. It's been what, almost 8 years ago. I was 8 years in November.
Just seven. Just
Okay,
seven.
7. So you're a year behind Doug and Chris and I, and it's just been it's so much fun because with this company, we go to events and we see each other, and then Debbie and I, text all the time or jump on a Zoom call maybe, but we do more texting than we do phone calls. And she travels a lot and I travel a lot, and it's just so fun to connect with people. But what I love about Debbie is, you have been a coach for many years. You're a top producing agent. You're killer with sales. You're one of those people that you'll just jump in and do anything, and you run circles around everybody, and you accomplish so much. And you have family, and there's been health issues with grandchildren, and your son is having a little minor surgery this week, and I hope you didn't think that's bad of me saying minor, but
No, it's a gallbladder.
It's
we
gallbladder.
don't really need those things anyway. Those appendix, I told the doctor you should take out his appendix while you're in there, but
yeah. And so there's all, I just think it's funny. We all are busy. Everybody's busy. Yet, you find time to do the things that are most important, and hopefully. And so today's call is just talking with Debbie about what she's doing, what she does, what she recommends you do, because she has been a coach for many years. So first of all, tell me how many years you've been in the business.
I've been in the business 20 years. I'm in my 21st year.
Okay. And I know in the past, you were with Keller Williams and Remax, right?
Keller Williams, Remax, a locally owned company. And I first actually started with Century 21, but we do not have Century 20. I don't know about you guys, but we do not have Century 21 anymore in our area. And I'll tell you, I went there because when I got into real estate, it was absolutely the worst financial time for my husband and myself. I had just finished a 25-year teaching career. I worked at all Catholic and private schools. My joke is, when I worked at the Catholic schools, I worked for God. And when I worked at the private schools, I worked for somebody who thought he was God. But I have 2 master's degrees. I was head of the departments of every school that I taught at. When I left after 25 years, I was making $33,000 a year and left with absolutely no retirement, nothing, zero. Great memories, and now I have some great clients from that. But yeah,
and I know, but you were teaching art.
Yep, I was an art teacher. I'm really just a hippie that now I wear makeup. If you see me on my off days, you'd say, "Oh yeah, she's really a hippie."
So if you're just joining in, because I just admitted some more people. If you're just joining in, he was teaching for how many years?
25.
25, and you left teaching. What year approximately was that?
I left teaching in 2001.
2001, making $33,000 a year.
Yep. When I started teaching in 1978 full time, my salary was $8,000. It was in the private schools, as I told you. The public schools were only paying a couple $1,000s more. And I remember calling my mother up, and my mother is from Germany. I'm the first generation here. And I said to her, "Mom, they offered me $8,000. Will I be able to survive on that?" And she says, "Oh, Debbie, you'll be very creative. You'll be fine." Great advice, right?
Yeah. So you're in Rochester.
I am in Rochester, New York. I am originally from right outside New York City, lived in Manhattan for a while, and then my parents moved to what they called upstate, which was Westchester, Rockland County, from the city, to go to school. They didn't want to put us in the city schools. And then in 70, well, I transferred up to college up here because of a guy, and he was a couple years older than me, and he was ready to go to dental school. which he just sold his dental practice for like $25 million. I still keep in touch with him. And I cuss him every time it gets really cold up here because his famous words were, Debbie, I think I'd really like to, after you graduate, get married. And I'd like to open up a practice in Rochester. And I said, I will never live in this cold place ever. So here I am.
And Craig and I were talking about it yesterday because it came up as one of the best places to live, affordability and everything. And so, yeah,
That's very
right.
true.
And
We have had, not to interrupt you, affordability, yes. I have 6 clients that are relocating from all different parts of the United States to Rochester. And the reasons they are moving here is because affordability, for what they can get, a piece of land that might be 20 acres with a house on it, a pole barn, maybe a second residence on the property, and they can get all that for under $500,000. And the reason they're moving here is because of the water supply, because we're sitting right on Lake Ontario, and our climate. And I laugh when they say climate. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, your climate has changed over the last 10 years. I said, yes, we don't get 3 feet of snow in one day anymore. We get it over a period of a month. So it snows every day.
so what is your average price point, your average sale?
So right now, my average price point is probably around 220, we'll say 225.
225. And what does 225 get you?
Well, it always gets me 3%, always. Except for if I'm on a listing, I charge more on the listing side than 3%.
Okay. And that's a 3-bedroom house with a yard?
3-bedroom house, maybe 1,500 square feet, 1.5 bath, garage, and maybe on 1/3 of an acre to 1/2 an acre piece of property.
Okay. And that
And
average commission.
and that's with an escalation clause.
Okay. And that average commission price is somewhere around 7,000, I guess.
Yeah, 3%. Yeah. Well, no, that's the way.
Okay.
Yeah, about about
Seven.
$6,000, something like
Okay.
that.
So it takes you about um,
A lot,
11 deals
a lot, yeah.
to cap
Mhm.
11 deals. So I want everybody to realize that because some of you are in much higher price points. Probably everybody, for the most part, is in higher price points, right? Because that's really one of the lowest ones, I think, in the United States. I think that article I read said that the median price was like 185 or
Oh,
something.
yeah. So I was just gonna say that. So that's if I sell 180,000. I mean, I have one under contract right now for 65,000, another one for 18,000. What do you get for 18,000? You get a piece of land, a very small piece of land. I have another one under contract. I have about 11 pending deals right now that are all, except for 2, they would be under 200,000.
Okay. So I want you to tell the story about how you became known as selling one house a day.
Okay. So kind of a funny story. So I was with another company, and my husband and I was coaching. I was coaching like 95 people across the United States and Canada. And my husband and I decided, we had a small team. There were about 5 people on the team. My son is on the team, and one of my son's brother-in-laws was on the team. And they were both very hard workers. The other people were just, once in a while they would sell something. But I don't care, because I don't care if I take part-time agents or full-time agents, because most of the full-time agents don't work full-time anyway, they work part-time. So my husband and I went away to Arizona for 3 weeks, and I could still do my coaching calls from there. And I had, came back, and I have these 2 big whiteboards. I would show them to you, but I just moved, so they're not even hanging up right now. I had these 2 big whiteboards in my office. And when I got back, the only thing that was on the listing side were the listings that I had taken right before I went away. And there was absolutely nothing on the buyer side, like 0. In 3 weeks, not one house was sold. And I hope I don't offend anybody, because as I told you, I am from New York, and I do say fuck like aloha. But anyway, I came back and I went into the office and I saw this board, and it was blank. And I just looked at it and I'm like, what is going on? And I called my admin up and I said, Jessica, did you not put anything on the board? And she said, no, no. She says, I didn't want to tell you because I wanted you to have a good time while you were in Arizona. She says, but nobody sold anything. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? I called a team meeting the next day and I walked into the team meeting and I said, what the fuck did all of you go away on vacation for the last 3 weeks? I expected that board to be full and now it's not. I said, okay, so now I guess I've got to take matters into my own hand. And I guess we'll just see what happens. And the next day I started, and by the end of the next month, I'd sold 36 houses. So it was actually a little bit more than one house per day. And how I did that is because I had to show my team that not only was I passionate about real estate, I was passionate about my craft, but that I could do it. And I didn't really need them to help me out, that I could just go out and pound and just call the leads and get in touch with my database and just sell, 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 sell. The team ended up selling, I think that month we had maybe 60, I don't think so, maybe 50 closed transactions and 36 of them I did. My broker made a very big deal about it because some brokerages don't even have, 30 transactions in a month, and let alone I did 36 in 1 month. So it's just a matter of knowing what to do. I can actually right now turn my business on or off or steady it, but I've worked my business so well that my phone rings every day that somebody wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate.
Wow. That is amazing. And I think the point of that I see is that, people, your team basically was negligent. Either they weren't focused on it or had other things to do, maybe lazy at some point or something or whatever, but they had maybe had limiting beliefs, but you came in there and you did it. You said, I'm going to show you how it's done. And you did it yourself, and you just took matters, into your own hands. So,
Exactly.
so I'm going to have to start saying she sells more than one house a day,
No,
because that's how I
don't.
always referred to her.
I don't, listen, I want to tell you all right now. I said to Chuck, I said, Chuck, I did that for a long time between myself and the team, selling a house every day. And I don't do that anymore. I'm older now and I have different priorities in life. Chuck told you I now have 2 grandchildren. One is a little over 2, the other one is 1, and they just announced that they're pregnant again. I'm like, oh, good Lord. They used to live in Pittsburgh. I made them move back to Rochester so that I could help out. My grandson, when he was born, he did have some health issues that needed special attention. So I wanted to be there. I didn't want to miss those parts of my life. Just like when my boys were growing up, I didn't want to miss any of their hockey games or their baseball games. I just didn't want to be one of those people that missed parts of people's lives because I was so focused on my business. I am very, very focused on my business, but I also have a family, and sometimes priorities change a little bit.
Absolutely. And I love that phrase, what you focus on expands,
Yep.
right? But I think the point is that you have done it. You may not be doing it right now, but you have done it. You could do it right now if you wanted to. But it can be done, that's the thing. It's always, it's kind of interesting. I think we all sometimes think whatever is going on with us personally, that everybody else is thinking that or experiencing it. It's kind of for whatever it is, that everybody's stressed during the holidays. No, some people aren't, because maybe they don't do as much, or maybe they plan better, or they have more time to do things, or whatever. But I love that, because you didn't ask your team to do anything that you weren't willing to do.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
lead by example. So let me ask you this: how would you apply that right now? Because some people are going to say, "Oh, the market's bad. The interest rates are high. We don't have inventory." If your team was saying that, what would you do?
Yes, well, that is happening now, and that was my next part of the story. So, Jim and I bought a place in Florida, last year, and so we were there in January for a couple of weeks, February for a couple of weeks, March, April, May, and I only had, I think, maybe 3 closings. I still have that team, not the same people. They come and go, and that's okay. But I had only had like 3 closings, like the first maybe 5 months of the year, maybe one or two more. And the last week when we were in Florida, Jim said to me, you know, you're not going to make icon this year. And I said, bullshit, I am so going to make icon. And he goes, you're going to have to work your ass off when you get home. I said, I'm not going to work my ass off. I said, I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to time block. I'm going to do the things that I'm necessary to do. Anyway, came back. I worked, I capped, I iconed. So yeah, it can be done. It can be done. As far as the interest rates, I always address the elephant in the room first with everybody that I'm speaking to, and that is the high interest rates. I always say date the rate, marry the listing, you know, marry the house. I want people to buy houses for loving it. They can always refinance. And when I tell them that the first house I bought, you know, back in I think it was 1979, not even somewhere back in the 70s, my interest rate was 16.5%. And then when my husband and I got married, our first marital house we bought, it was 10.25. And I thought I was getting like this great deal on a property. When I got into real estate in 2003, the rates had dropped to 6%, and everybody thought that, oh my God, they're historically low. Yeah, you know what? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't really know if we'll see the 2s and 3s again, but what I can tell you is people still need to buy houses. People still want to buy houses. And I think it's all in the way that you approach them. Our inventory is extremely low. Single family homes, I do a weekly post and talk about, you know, what's going on in the market, how many listings that there are with just single family homes in our county. By the way, we have the highest taxes in the nation in the county that I live in, the lowest home prices, but the highest taxes. So for example, $1 million property, the taxes will be anywhere from $50,000 to $55,000 a year.
Wow.
And oh, by the way, I am closing on we don't have very many $1 million homes here in Rochester. In fact, where my office is, if I go 2 miles south, I can show you homes that are 20, 30, 40,000. And if I go 2 miles to the north, then I can show you homes that are probably worth anywhere from 700 up to maybe 2 million. But we don't have very many $1 million homes on the market at one time at all. And tomorrow I am closing on my first $1 million property, 1.3 million, and that's because my son bought it. My son that I moved back into town. And then if it was, course, it was, Mom, can I have the commission back? I'm like, yeah, no way, no freaking way.
That's there's a lot wrapped up in all of that. So
yeah.
taxes are 50,000 minimum on a $1 million purchase.
Yep. Depending, and so right now, last year at this time, we had in our county 408 single-family homes on the market. And right now we have 380 single-family homes on the market. So it really hasn't changed very much. We average about 72 listings every week. And we're still doing the delayed negotiations, delayed showings, delayed negotiations, and we're getting still multiple offers, not 20 and 30 like we were when the interest rates were lower, but we're still seeing anywhere from 3 to 10 offers on a property, and everything is still going with escalation, except for our luxury market, which our luxury market really here starts in the 300,000s. A home that would be 300,000 in Rochester, New York, that same home might be 900 to $1 million downstate, closer to the city.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, I think one thing you said reminded me of something I was reading the other day, a post that was talking about interest rates. And the post started out as one of those coaching programs, and it said, you know, will rates ever get down to 2 or 3%? And everybody was talking about it, and I thought, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It's, you know, you would love it to happen, but why are we sitting around wasting time talking about it? Let's just, it is what it is right now. And you're either going to buy right now or not. And if you're going to wait, in my opinion, you're going to pay more for the house later. So lock it in. And like you said, you know, date the rate and marry the house. And you can refi in 6 months when it goes down.
Absolutely.
And you can keep refining. You know,
Absolutely.
Craig, my partner, does loans and was always doing refis for people, and now looking to start doing refis for those that bought when rates went higher and as they come down. So it's just, I just think it's a ridiculous conversation to have. It's whatever it is right now, that's what you're going to get, right?
Exactly. You know, I don't know if there's anybody else from Canada, but Lee Colby, he's a good friend of mine. He's on here. Lee, give a wave. in Lee, correct me if I'm misspoken, but I believe in Canada, they have to refi their houses every 5 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that too.
And not only that, and I don't know if they still do this, they make people that are buying houses go through what they call a stress test. It's not like here in the United States where you run on a treadmill at a cardiologist office. They actually make you go through this whole program. And what do you have to have? At least 40% minimum down? I can't hear you.
There we go. Sorry. Did you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, so it's first time home buyers get away with 5% down, but
Oh.
most everybody else is 20% down, and it's a 5-year maximum length. And yeah, it's the stress test is usually about two points above the actual bank rate.
Yeah. So, think about that if we were in a place where every 5 years we would have to refinance, we wouldn't even be thinking about the higher interest rates. It would just be the norm.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I heard, I was talking to someone in your group a month or so ago, and she explained to me about that. And I thought, you have to refi every 5 years. So
Yep.
for those of us, buying in the States, it's like you lock in at 30 if that's what you want, if that's the good thing, or you have a adjustable or whatever it is. But, think about that. Every 5 years, that would be, it's just a different mindset. I mean, it's just what, what you're used to and everything, right? But anyway, wow, that's really interesting.
Yep.
So that brings me to talking about stock. And I just want to say real quickly before we talk about this, a lot of people don't realize this. And as realtors, we need to know these things, that when your clients have assets, not an IRA or retirement account, but assets such as stock, of course, EXP stock, but any stock, basically, they should check with whoever is holding all of that, the institution, whether it's Morgan Stanley or Charles Schwab or whatever, because when you have $500,000, I know that may sound like a lot to some people, and others that will be nothing. But if you have $500,000 in assets, they will give a quarter rate discount on whatever the lowest rate is they're offering, and that's and I found that to be true. And if you have $1 million or more, then you can get a 0.5% discount. So when you're working with someone and you know that you might want to ask that, they have assets, and to check with that person. A mortgage broker, I think, is always best, not going to a bank, but because they've got so many programs to work with. But in that case, it's good to go to that institution if they have a lot of assets. So let's talk about that, because I remember one day, Debbie, we were talking about your son, who's a financial planner, and was talking about your situation. Tell that story real quick.
So I one day I called, I was like, probably, I don't know, I'm 67 years old. So this was what, 4 years ago. I guess I must have been going through a little bit of midlife crisis, thinking like, am I ever going to retire? And I really love what I do. I mean, I love helping people out. But anyway, I called my son up and I said, honey, can you do me a favor? Can you figure out am I ever really going to be able to just retire, do nothing? Not that I could ever not do anything, because I'm not that type of person. So he says, yeah, give me a little while. I'll call you back. He called me back in 20 minutes and he goes, Mom, I said, my God, that's it? In 20 minutes, you figured out this whole thing. He says, well, Mom, you don't really have much to work with. He said, you've put a little bit of money away. Jim has some money from when my husband, prior to going into real estate, he was a union electrician. So he has a small pension from there. And he said, but because you taught for so many years in private schools and have no retirement, he said, you're going to have to work until you're 92 years old or win the lottery. And I said, well, I guess it is true what they say about realtors. We just expire. So hung up the phone from him. The stock, EXP stock was going up. At this time, I was only at EXP for 4.5 years. And all of a sudden I get a phone call from, I don't know if any of you know Elena Ortiz, a friend of mine. Chuck introduced us and she said, so how does it feel? I said, how does what feel? She said, how does it feel to have all that stock, all that money? And I'm like, Elena, I have no idea what you're talking about. Not a clue. And she said, Debbie, you sell a lot more real estate than I do. And you icon every year that you've been here. And she said, you have to have much more than me, because I said, Elena, every time you sell something or even do a rental, I said, it's twice or 3 times as much as what my standard, sale is. And she said, I said, Jim, I hollered to my husband in the other room. I said, he says, nope, this is all we have. It's about $550,000 worth of stock and blah, blah, blah. So Elena said, Debbie, do you remember before they switched over to Morgan Stanley that the stock was in another section? It was in this broad bridge thing. She says, you need to get in touch with them. So I said, okay. So I told my husband, he says, no, I don't think we have anything there. So anyway, a couple days go by because now we got to get the passcodes. We got to get into this Broadridge account or whatever. And Jim calls me into the other room and he said, Deb, come here. And I said, I'm in the middle of something. He said, no, stop what you're doing. Come here. So I went into the other room and we had close to $2 million in stock. And I think really my heart might have stopped. And so I said, hold that thought. I called my son, Ben, up. And I said, hey, Ben, I want to show you something. Did it on FaceTime. I flipped the phone around and he said, congratulations, Ma, you just won the lottery. And then, of course, that's when he said to me, Enron, we've got to move it. We've got to move it. And of course, we couldn't take a lot out of the Broadbridge because I don't know, it was crazy. But, and here's the thing. I don't have all that stock now, but I've invested quite a bit of it into other things. I bought a couple of properties. In fact, the building that I am in, part of my loan was a collateral loan, and it just was perfect. Had I not had that, I wouldn't have. I used to own a lot of properties a long time ago, got rid of all of them, and then I started building my portfolio up again when we had the stock and the large amount. So I've taken that and I've invested in some, and the best part about it is I didn't do anything differently than what I normally would do, which is just to sell houses. And now I don't have to say I have to be 92 to retire. So now
say that again. Say that again about doing things differently.
Yeah. So I did not do anything differently than what I do every day. I get up, I go to my time blocking, I follow my time blocking, I get in touch with my clients. I didn't do anything different. I don't even think I sold more houses than I normally did. I just did what I normally did. And because of the gift of EXP, that having this stock award program, it made me a millionaire. And I'm never going to be grateful for that. And why, when I tell people that story that are not with EXP, they just don't get it. It's beyond me. I don't know.
Well, when we want to put a disclaimer on this, that stock goes up, stock goes down,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it varies and everything. And we're not, saying that would always happen. But I think the point is, the stock awards we get, and you and I at the last company got ball caps when we reached the cap.
Wait,
a $29 ball cap.
Wait, I just unpacked my office and I found these, my capper hats. And you know what? I'm going to go around in every corner. There's a homeless person. I'm going to give them one.
Oh, perfect.
I can't think of anything to do with them.
Repurpose. So we would get a cap when we capped. And at EXP, you get a cap award, which is a $400 stock award. And over time that adds up. And of course, our stock split a few years ago, and that, doubled the number of shares you had. But I think also most importantly for everybody, not only that, the first sale we make every year, we get a stock award of $200. But the more important one is opting to buy stock at a 10% discount. And
Absolutely.
That's using 5% of your commission, which you will never, ever miss. And I think the point of that is that a lot of people think, 5%, that's not much, or, let me mute this person when I find who they are.
Cool. Okay, this is amazing.
I'm not sure who this is. Okay, so but I was gonna say is everybody needs to make sure they sign up for the 10% discount purchase of stock. You can always sell that at any time. Let me mute all.
I might see who.
Okay, so I muted all, and then Debbie needs you to unmute. So anyway, I was just saying, make sure you sign up for that. If you're not signed up for that, all you need to do is reach out to the accounting department, and they will get you signed up for that, or call that expert care desk, and they'll send you the form. But to the point of Debbie's story is she signed up for it, and it was going into that account, and she forgot about it, and it just build and build and build over time. And, you know, it was a nice nest egg. And then the other thing is you put it into investments of other things and that's what you did. So anyway, so good. So now I want to transition into how you're getting your leads. And that's how this initially came about, me wanting to do this call with you, because there on our last month's call, we had a person on from Think, CINC, the rep, to explain everything. And it was something that our coach, that Doug and I use, Sean Kokoska, uses, and he was saying it was a great program. And I've known you in the past talk about your leads, but I never really asked you questions about it. And so when the person started doing the presentation, and it's recorded on our YouTube site, Magnetic Wealth Experts, when they started doing it, you popped up on the screen as a testimony, and it said, and there were 3 people. Yeah, you were on there, and it said Debbie sold, you know, you sold 90 out of 180 transactions. I think it was in 2021 or something like that. And so, yeah, that's kind of like one of the few times that I've actually seen, you know, somebody I know on a testimony that I can reach out and say, is that true? So I already had the endorsement from Sean. And so now from you. And so I want to talk about your experience with Sync, because these are online leads, and you said your phone rings every day with a buyer or a seller. So talk about that.
Okay, so I have been using Sync since it went public. I was involved in a coaching group, and actually we were like the next in line when they were doing the beta testing, but they stopped at one number. And then as soon as they opened it up, we said, oh my gosh, how could we afford this? How could we afford this program, you know, to do every month? So I did what I normally do. I went out and I had a meeting with like 5 or 6 lenders and a couple of attorneys. And I said, who wants to jump on board with this? Because I am going to sell a shit ton of houses and you're all going to benefit from it. So 2 stepped up to the plate. And so we filled out marketing agreements, and that's how I ended up getting Commissions Inc. And I will tell you that aside from my, you know, my personal database, it is the #1 lead source where leads come in every day. I mean, every day there are more and more leads. In fact, I could hire 10 agents right now, and they could all make 6 figures if they wanted to make the phone calls. And that's really what it's all about. It's about making the phone calls. But I don't have, you know, like, and Lee will know because we were in the same coaching program. They taught us how to do Facebook ads. They taught us how to do Google ads. I don't have time for all that stuff. I want somebody to do that for me, because all I want to do is sell houses. I want to meet people. I want to build a rapport, and I want to sell them houses. So that's what we did. We found the lender. We found an attorney. Well, yeah, an attorney, sort of like it. We don't use title companies here. The attorneys use title companies, but it's actually one of the attorneys' title company. And the leads that we get, listen, I'm not going to say that they're all great, but you call enough of them and they are, but you really, really have to set yourself up with making sure that you call the lead. Any kind of, you know, contact management system is going to be great, and a lead generator is going to be great if you call the people that are coming in. If you don't, then it's like it's not worth it to spend the money. But I have tried many different ones. Bold leads comes in a close 4th. I have never found any other, you know, we try different things. We never get rid of Sync, but we tried different things. And Sync has definitely given us the most bang for our buck. In fact, I can remember being at an open house, and a woman came in. I said, oh, would you sign in? And she signed in with my son's name. And I said, oh, Adam is your realtor? She said, yes, I've never met him, but he sends me emails weekly. He sends me houses weekly from a website that I went into. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure Adam will be glad to know that. And it's just crazy. We've had people that, you know, that have called up and said, hey, we'd like you to be our realtor. When can we meet? And I don't even have to do my scripts, you know, which is another thing. You have to have a script, and the script has to be consistent. You can't change it for everybody that you talk to. Well, first of all, if you have a team, you shouldn't. I don't know how the rest of your states are, but New York State is they are testers. They are testers 100%. They will call, they will test, they will send in fact, if you all have absolutely nothing to do, you can Google Long Island divide and see how a bunch of Long Island agents were, they discriminated and they all lost their license. So the script has to be the same, and it shouldn't be a long script. It should be something simple. My son, the financial advisor, he was the one that actually told me to get a real estate coach. Because my first year in real estate, I sold 38 houses. But all the houses, there was nothing that I sold over $25,000. It was, 20 years ago, our market was it's just where our market was. And he said, get a coach. And I'm like, do they have them? And he goes, Mom, everybody has coaches. Tiger Woods has coaches for, every club in his bag. So I did. I went out and found a coach, and I wanted somebody who did what I did. It wasn't just somebody that stood behind a platform and said, oh, this is what you need to do, or get on these conference calls and this is what you need to do because this is what you should do. I wanted somebody who was actually doing what I, down in the trenches. And I found somebody. And it was through that coaching company that I became a coach, but that I also found out about Commissions Inc. And you've just got to call these people up. We had somebody call last week, called my cell phone and said, hi, Debbie. Listen, you've been sending me emails for months. And it's been almost 2 years that you've been sending me emails. And my husband and I are ready to buy a house. Set an appointment, called her back, did my script, set an appointment. They came down to the office. Prior to that, I'm looking in my sync database for this name, for this phone number, couldn't find it. Finally, when she came in, she said, oh yeah, I gave you a fake name and a fake phone number, but my email was the right email. And I'm like, oh, okay, but I didn't have her real name, so I didn't know what her real email was. 2 weeks later, they bought a house for cash. I mean, so it happens, but you as the agent have to stay on top of it. You just have to set up a system, a time to call leads, and when it's a time not to call leads. And the most importantly is that you don't veer from your schedule. I am so huge in time blocking. If I am set to call leads and somebody called me up right after I got off this Zoom and said, could you please come to my house? We need to sell it. I would give them the times that I were available. They would say, can't you come tonight? I would say, no, I'm sorry, I have a prior commitment. But I'm available this day, and this day. And it's not going to make that big of a difference if we meet tonight or tomorrow or the day after. But you have to have the discipline. You have to call. You have to set up a plan to call, and you can't stop.
So if I told you I was taking away your sync account, I think you'd probably be shocked, right?
Yeah. I would be like, oh my God, what, I still have my database, and, I send my database emails every week. And you know what? Some people I've sold houses to, some people I haven't. I add people to my database. And I always have this rule of thumb is that if somebody responds back to me from one of those emails that I sent out, it's always something about a house, or what are you doing, or have you had any work done to your house that I could pop by and see the quality of work. Anybody that responds back, those are the people that I continuously to reach out to, because those people are going to be the next people that I'm going to sell houses. But in order to get constantly new business for my team, I mean, I've got 5 people on my team, and I want to make sure that their mouths are being fed, that their families are being fed, because now I worry about them, that I have the proper tools to give them, and they have more leads than they know what they could do with.
And when's the last time you really looked at the program? Because I bet it's had some updates with AI, chat, and all that kind of stuff. Have you looked at that lately, or?
No, Jim and I just talked about that last night. We used to religiously, in fact, 1 year with our coaching program, we went down to the headquarters of Chick-fil-A. And because right prior to that, Jim and I were traveling. I don't even know where we were, somewhere in middle America. We stopped at a hotel, and I know it's kind of a crazy story, but it was interesting that every time we asked somebody something, they always responded with my pleasure, my pleasure. So I said, Jim, there's something up with this, my pleasure. And And I said, I'm going to look into this. Well, sure enough, shortly after that, with our coaching, we were in a very elite coaching group, and we went to the headquarters of Chick-fil-A because one of our coaches was very good friends with the guy, Drew Struett Puckett, or whatever his name was, doesn't really matter. And we noticed that he talked about that he trains his agents to go down there. Not his agents, his workers. They all say, absolutely, happy to, or my pleasure. You'll never hear anybody say no problem. Okay. And we talked about the whole philosophy of the no problem. Well, then right after that, we went to Sync headquarters, and in every booth of all the people that work there, these Sync people, they had a sign that had wow words. And in fact, I don't know if anybody's had the opportunity to go to United Wholesale Mortgage in Pontiac, Michigan. And if you haven't, you need to get yourself aligned with a mortgage broker that has an alignment with there, and let them take you out to that. They have wow words against all their computers. I wrote them down and I give it to my team, because sometimes words mean things. Okay. And we were just talking about this last night, about the wow word things, and about how we used to go to Sync training in Georgia all the time. And we probably haven't been down in like 4 years because we've been so crazy busy with other things. And we just last night, my husband and I said, we're going down because I'm sure there's some brand new things that are happening there. We don't even know what they are. My rep calls me every week to talk about things, and every week I say the same thing. Samantha, can I talk to you next week? I said, I'm super busy right now and I don't have a time block for your call. Let's set up a time block where we can call. Because as I said, I not only time block, but I time block when I was teaching, but I time block even more as a realtor. And what I also do about time blocking is I audit my time blocking. So if something goes over, I go in and put that in my time blocking schedule. I was calling leads, but I went over because somebody called me back who didn't answer their phone, and I don't leave a message. And if somebody calls me back, I don't care. I do my script with them. I don't care if I don't know their name. I bring them in for an appointment or a Zoom, and that's when I find out what their name is. Can you just tell me again the correct spelling of your name? Okay, great. Thank you. Can you fill out this form? It's just protocol. We have everybody fill out this form before we start our consultation. So I don't care if I know their name or not. And the one big thing that everybody makes the mistake of, and this is how your conversations get longer than they are, and I'm certified DISC, and I've been using DISC for a really long time, is don't ask anybody, how are you? Because if they're a D, they'll say, what difference does it make? Do you really care how I am? If they're an I, you're going to hear a story. Oh, blah, blah, blah. If they're an S, oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you for asking how I am. Well, let me tell you, I've got this and I've got this and that. And if they're going to if it's a C, they're going to question why you ask them how they are. So, okay.
That's a whole nother conversation, the
That's
disc
a whole other,
profile.
but I'd probably have to retire if I lost Sync. Seriously, that's how impactful it is. And I also use it. I mean, I pull up my phone when I'm attracting agents and I say, listen, I don't know if you're thinking, well, first of all, when I attract agents, I know I should probably come to some of those classes, because when I first came to EXP, I brought on like 58 agents immediately. And as fast as I brought them on, they left for a couple of reasons. I knew I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even do the agent equity program the first 6 months. And I said to Chuck, nobody told me about it. My sponsor did. And Chuck said, oh, we probably told you, you just didn't listen. And he was right. I probably didn't listen. Okay. And EXP didn't know enough about itself. EXP was like this amazing company, and like every week something new was coming out, and like you could hardly even believe what was going on. And every time it was better and better. And so, so now I'm a little bit more selective, but I call agents all the time and ask them if they want a cup of coffee. And, their first comments are, listen, I'm not looking to move companies. I'm like, did I ask you that? I'm just asking you for a cup of coffee. But when we do go out for coffee or for lunch, I show them the number of leads that I have. They don't know where they're from. But when somebody sees that you've got 27,000 leads in a bucket, they're like, whoa, I don't know anybody that's got 27,000 leads in their bucket.
So, well, and what I want to say is I want to interject here that everybody watch the recorded video on Magnetic Wealth Experts on our YouTube channel, because that was our call last month, all about Sync, demonstrating it. And I think that maybe, David, what you don't realize that you want to take that call next time she calls,
I am.
is all about the AI chat feature. And so I can just tell you briefly that basically when that lead comes in, because somebody at midnight or 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever is Googling, houses in XYZ town, or neighborhood or whatever, that's when that AI chat feature jumps back to them and says, glad you're asking, what's your price point, or pre-approved, all these different things that are programmed into ask, and it takes it cultivates the lead for you, so you don't have to call them right away, and then you can call, like Dave was saying, when you time block the time to call. And so so basically I'm just going to tell everybody, because you're probably wondering the cost. The cost for sync, from what I understand, is $1,000 a month minimum. And then and there are some add-ons that we got for EXPCon, because Doug Rago went down and talked to the rep at EXPCon, and so we got some add-ons to that. So then from there you budget how much more you want to add to get more leads. And so for $1,000, I believe basically they're saying that you would get, I think maybe 20 to 30 leads or something a month. And then of course, some of those are going to take a while to convert, and maybe something will be ready quicker. But I asked Sean, and I'll ask Debbie this too. I asked Sean what was the lead he was seeing, and he said basically 6 months was when he saw the first closing happen. So in this case, $6,000 of investment after 6 months. What are you seeing as far as a turnaround over the time you've done it?
Well, I couldn't say that, because the minute that we started getting leads, we were closing people. Probably after a couple of years, I noticed that it was, there were more, like maybe there were some that weren't ready, but we were getting more and more leads, because remember, Sync was brand new when I just started using it. So now I get more and more leads. I'm going to say maybe 3 to 6 months. I'm not going to say a full 6 months, because I called a lead yesterday and I have an appointment to go over to list their house. So I'm not going to say that, and that was a now lead and a now appointment.
Right. So, and it happens. I mean, I think the point I think you're making is that you just wouldn't not have it because
No.
it's that good,
No.
And so I would just say, I know some people are thinking, oh, $1,000 a month, find it if that's what's important to your business, is what you would do, right?
Yep, absolutely. If you don't invest in yourself or your business, you're not going to grow. I mean, listen, I told you, when my husband and I got into this business, it was the worst, absolutely financial time. And I went and got a real estate coach. I had an American Express card. I'd never used it. And with American Express, you got to pay by the end of the month, right? And I said, well, something's going to happen. Something's got to happen. I got to do this. And I did. And it really showed me that, when you put yourself in the right mindset and you invest in yourself and you find a product that works so well that you don't want to lose sight of it. And Sync definitely is one of those products that I would get rid of everything else I have as far as lead generating things. Do I have some other ones? Yeah, I do. You shouldn't rely solely on one. Don't put all your, what is that, eggs in the same basket.
One basket. Yep.
I always get those metaphors mixed up, but and in my old office, I had a whole strip of where I get leads from. You should have at least 7 to 8 different pillars of where you get leads. But I will tell you, aside from my personal database, which somebody asked in the chat, I just saw quickly, no, I do not use KV Core. I use Sync to put my database in. My database, I mean, they're repeat clients, and Sync are new clients that become repeat clients. So
that's where you manage all your
Absolutely.
classes in Sync. Yeah, because it is that too. It's not just a online lead generator. It is a database that keeps up and sends out, just like you said, people were getting emails all the time, and you didn't realize it in a way, because it was working in the background on your behalf. So, I mean, now what is your budget with Sync that you're spending? Do you know?
$1,000 a month.
1,000? Okay.
Two.
So 2,000. Okay. So I believe, like I said, everybody listen to that video, but I believe the minimum is 1,000, and then you can add on in $200 or $500 increments to add more leads coming in. So the 1,000 gets you like 20 to 30, then maybe another 200 would get you 30 to 50 or whatever, and you go on from there. I think people, if you don't want to do it by yourself, I don't think there's anything wrong with partnering with somebody. and you cultivate them, and then when it comes time to do them, then you're working them with somebody else. My whole point of this, and I'm not a sync rep or anything, I'm just always trying to find the best way to do something and to maximize. And that was actually one of the calls on Brendan Burchard's call the other day. It was like, the problem with high achievers is that you're always trying to do it better, and this, and you wear yourself out trying to do it. But we're working every day, and so you might as well be maximizing the day with sales and income coming in. And this is just something we kind of discovered. And I want to say about the coaching, I know so many people will say, oh, I don't need a coach, I know what I need to do, right? That's what they say. But this is how I found out about this, even though I know Debbie and we had talked about leads, but I never really, kept asking questions. But it was through a coach that told me, here it is. So the money that we spend on coaching, and you can get all kinds of different coaching programs, from group coaching to one-on-one to whatever. There's something for every budget, but it's so invaluable. And I would just recommend everybody have a coach, just have some coaching type situation program, because you will learn, And so, anything else you want to say about Think? Other
No,
than that, really,
I love it. So I mean, I don't even know how long it's been in existence, but I've had it since it started, even though they was a different owner, and it's just, every year it just gets better and better.
well,
So-
obviously, on that testimony, you said 90 out of 180 transactions. That's 50%. Do you feel it's 50% of your business now, or could be more or less, or what?
It might be a little bit more now, only because that people that we've sold houses to, a lot of them don't want to move, because it's still in our market, they're going to have to move twice, because we can't accept contingent offers. They'll get beat out, they'll get bumped. So unless we have a place that we could put them in temporarily. So I would say probably out of every 3 deals that we do, 2 of them are from Commissions Inc. and the 1 is from our database.
That's a lot. So I'm looking at chat to see what questions we have. I know you already answered the one about the database.
Don't ask people how they are, though.
Don't ask what?
I said, don't ask people how they are. It's my
Oh, yeah, right.
Don't say that.
So Becky's saying, would you recommend Sync? And it's CINC. Someone else is asking CINC for the database and also website. I know they have now have luxury presence, but not thrilled with the back end. So do you know anything about that?
So, yeah, I mean, we have multiple domain names that go to our I think our official name is Search Homes in Rochester, New York, NY.com. I think that's it. I'm not sure. But we have multiple domain names that feed into that. So you can really set it up the way that you want to set it up. It doesn't, you don't have to just take with that. We have different pictures of Rochester and the way we've set up our page. So you can really set it up the way that you want. I mean, I belong to eXp Luxury. I think of myself as a luxury agent, even though our luxury starts at 300,000. But I've set it up so that this way, one of my domain names has the word luxury in it, and I put it out there wherever I need to put it out there, and people will find it. And what it does is, it takes through IDX. It takes all of your lists. It takes all of the listings that are associated with your board and boards around it, and put them in, and they all look like they're your listings.
Okay. And then I see, Laura, you're asking, can you skip paying for leads 1 month and still have access to the database? So no, it's a monthly program, and the leads is part of the bonus that they're giving us. So you can't, but you wouldn't want to, because
Right.
if you skipped 1 month, you're going to miss that's closing, is the way I look at it, right? Because pretty much if you're getting a bunch of closings for the year per month. So let's just say if you got 4 for the month, and you skipped 1 month, 4 times 7, you're kicking out $28,000. And for people that are in, an average commission price of 25,000, that's kicking out 100,000.
Yeah,
so
that's a lot of money for you guys.
Yeah, for different price points. I'm looking at the other questions to see if there's anything else.
I mean, right now, over the last 4 months, okay, actually 6 months, I've gotten 5,000 leads from Commissions Inc. So it's, they say a minimum of this, but in actuality, you'll get more. I mean, I know that most of these leads have not even been called back. So we cherry pick. We do the ones that are people that are listing. We do the ones that are looking for a certain price homes. And then every once in a while, I'll call one of the lower price ones and bammo, those will be the ones that want to buy the house tomorrow,
Well, and there's a lot of those people in different parts of the country, whatever, that are on the computer at midnight and they're looking. I'm going to use example Malibu. They're interested in a house in Malibu, and then that's obviously they're in another part of the country where they're not moving, they can't move, whatever. Those are leads that just obviously wouldn't go anywhere. But with the AI feature, it's going to cultivate the lead. What are you going to say?
You maybe just think of some story. So, I'm not one of these agents that says, my phone is shut off at 7 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night. I mean, I set boundaries with my clients, and I always tell them, listen, if you're having a really bad night and I'm going to help you sleep better, you feel free to call me. If I'm up, I will answer my phone. And one night I was doing something on the computer. I'm pretty sure I was buying something from Amazon, which is like my new favorite hobby back then. Jim thinks I know the Amazon drivers by name by heart anyway. So a lead came in and it was like at 11 o'clock at night. And I called the lead back. I called them immediately. And I said, I normally don't make a phone call at this late at night, but I saw that you were just on my site. And I went into my script, and this guy thanked me so much because he was working at the time for, I don't know, I think it might have been Kodak or Xerox, one of them, but he was working at a different schedule and he was working at night. And anyway, because of his work, he couldn't get on during the day. And he said, I think other people have tried to call me back, but nobody has. He said, but since you called me at 11 o'clock at night, I'm working with you. Anyway, ended up selling him a house. Unfortunately, a couple of years later, he and his wife got divorced, but I'm also trained in mediation. So I always say I go in for one contract and I come out with 3 because now I'm going to sell everybody a house and sell one. But that, and so I call, so AI would do what Debbie did, at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So a couple of people put in, Doug and Laura, about, will you briefly share your script or what your script is like?
So yeah, my script is really pretty easy. I know that a couple of people on here know it because they coached with Craig Proctor, and those of you that were with Keller Williams, you probably heard of the LP Mama. And the only thing that I do differently than LP Mama is I never talk about how they're going to purchase the house. If you go through the Luxury Institute marketing certification, they will say never talk about how you're going to buy the house or bring up money, because that could be a threatening conversation. So basically, I call them up and I say, hi, Chuck, this is Debbie Renna Hynes from eXp Realty. And the reason why I'm calling, I saw that you came into our website, wanted to make sure that that was working out for you. I would wait for his response. No matter what his response was, I would say, are you planning on making a move within the next couple of months? 2 to 3 months, wait for his response. Then I would ask him if he currently owns or rents a property. And it doesn't really matter what he would say. I would still go on with it. If he says, well, I own a property, I would ask him if he needs to sell that prior to purchasing another one, or or can he buy it in the big scope of pictures, can he buy a house before selling it? And then I ask him again, I ask him if he's planning on staying in the neighborhood. I don't know what neighborhood he's looking at, planning on staying in the area. We get a lot of phone calls. People want to move out of Rochester. They're tired of the cold, but then we get a lot of people that want to move here because of the climate, which I still can't understand that one. And then it goes into, so if you were thinking about moving, when would that want to be? Which is a very different question than, are you planning on making a move within the next 3 to 6 months? And then I make them an offer. I make them an offer of coming down to my office or doing a Zoom where I could set him up on a search that will give him homes of just the criteria that he's looking for. They could be homes that are on the market by other companies. They could be foreclosures, distressed sales, and even homes that are not currently on the market. I think when I say not currently on the market, that really intrigues people. Well, what do you mean homes that are not that are not on the market? Well, they're homes that are not, they're not on the market right now. And honestly, that could be anything from an expired listing, which I know not many of us have expired listings these days, but if you go back 5-6 years ago, they're expired listings. Plus, we do sell, my team does sell a lot of off-market properties because we look for sale by owners that maybe want to sell their homes off market. And so that's what we do. And then it goes into can we get together for about 20 minutes? Would you prefer a Zoom or would you prefer, well, actually, now we say in person. We never did Zooms until COVID came into effect when everybody was locked down. And then we invite them to that. And, we ask them if they're the only decision makers. And whatever they say, we say, okay, we ask them if it's a cell phone that we're calling and could they receive text messages? And we say, great. And we reiterate the appointment. Bring nothing, you're not obligated. We'll meet you at this time, blah, 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 blah. And we hang up the phone. I never call back anybody to see if they're showing up. Never, never. And I never leave messages if somebody doesn't answer the phone. But what I will do is I try to book 3 appointments around the same time because the variables will be all 3 will show up. Nobody will show up. One of the 3 will show up. And if I'm waiting for somebody to come to the office, what do? I call other leads up. So I'm always utilizing my time during my time blocking period.
Wow. Well, this has been very helpful, and I just want to say, as with anything, including myself in years past, you listen to something like this, and then you're going to do it, and then for some reason you don't, you get distracted. And I hope that this has been recorded. We're going to send it out, and Debbie goes to everyone in your group, down to your 5th level because you're on our 2nd level. So we're going to send this out to everybody, so you can go back and watch it again, take notes, listen. I've been saying here to go to our YouTube channel for that call last month, but I just remembered YouTube pulled it. They deemed it harassment or something. I don't know why, what we said on it, but they pulled it. So Chris is going to email out this link to this call to everyone in our group. And then he'll also put the link to the sync call so that you'll have that handy. But I just, Debbie, really, thank you. I mean,
Oh my gosh, my
we
pleasure.
talk all the time and see each other at EXPCon. And I just want to say that too. Next EXPCon is October 27th in Miami. This is where I see Debbie. Can you see why just going to see her there is, so valuable in what I learn and what I hear. And it's just amazing. So thank you for sharing such a busy week right now with everything going on with the holidays. And
oh, it's okay. It's really my pleasure. And listen, when I taught art, I remember one time I was the chair of the department and this one teacher did this great presentation. I was monitoring her, evaluating her, whatever it was called back then. I can't even remember. It was so long ago, another life. And I said, wow, that was a great project. How did you do that? And I was her supervisor and she didn't want to tell me. And I looked at her and I said, you didn't invent the color wheel. And what I'm going to tell all of you that I remember when I was at another office and I would go in and there'd be an agent there late at night and they'd be hovering over the copier machine because God forbid I might see what they're printing. Listen, I didn't invent any of this stuff up. Okay. I saw it, I copied, I pasted, I got it from other agents. I said, let me try that. That works. I implemented it into my business. My story is an open book. If anybody, any one of you wants to reach out to me, just call me. If I can talk, I'll talk. Text me first and say, hey, can we set up a time? I'll time block you and I will talk to you. But, as Chuck said, probably one of the biggest changes in my life, other than getting Sync, but I would have never known about Sync if it wasn't for my coach, is to get a coach. And it's not that you all need coaches, but it's somebody that keeps you accountable. I still have a coach and, I've been doing this and I'm a successful agent, but I still have somebody that I keep myself accountable to. And I think that that's the big picture. So Sync is amazing. Find a way to get it. Do what I did when I had no money. Now I don't care, but I do care. It's not that money isn't important to me. It still is. But go out and ask for marketing agreements with people. People, so you never know. What's the worst that you could hear is no, then you'd be right back where you started, but reach out to somebody. But I can't say enough good about Sync. I really can't. It's a wonderful, wonderful platform.
Good. And I know one of the other questions was asking about coaching. Doug and I use iconcoaching.com. It's Shanka Koska, but there are other coaches there and group coaches and stuff. Do you have a couple that you would recommend?
So of course, I'm one of the success coaches. I do coach privately, but I do coach through Success, and we have put together group, like groups if people wanted a group conversation because they all wanted the same thing. So that, yeah, I mean, Success is good. Sean is great. I mean, I remember when I was at that other company where I have those hats from, going to masterminds with Sean. He's a wonderful coach as well.
So I forgot you were doing success coaching. One more thing in your hat you wear. I mean, it's not like you don't have enough things going on. I remember when you got that, and
Oh, he made me cry. Wait, Chuck made me cry. We went.
Oh no, don't tell that story.
Doug, are you still here? We went out for dinner, and Chuck told me, Debbie, you need to just focus on this, this, and this. And I'm looking at him. He says, forget about that whole coaching thing, because I had just been a coach with Craig Proctor for many, many years, and I ended that relationship, which was kind of weird. And Chuck says, you don't need to coach anymore. And he made me cry. Do you remember that, Doug?
No, I don't remember that.
It was actually in a good way. But you know what? What Chuck said to me that night resonated, because my focus when I got into coaching again with Success Coaching was I was going to take on another 95 people. Well, when you take on 95 people, you can't sell real estate, and you can't build a portfolio like I did. Had I done that, I could never have sat here and told you all that I became a millionaire and that I bought a lot of it, because I would have spent most of my time coaching, and that does not sell houses. So I pick up a person here and there. So Chuck, I still love you.
I still love you too. And when you told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, but I was thinking of her best interest, because sometimes we all can't see something and we need to have a different perspective. And that's why coaching is good. But I totally forgot that you were in coaching. So everybody right now, how do they reach out to you if they're interested in coaching with you?
Send me a text or an email.
Okay.
My cell phone is 585-899-0805. And
Okay.
I don't know what I never remember my EXP, because I have you can reach out to me at, no, I don't even know that. Let me give you my other email, not my Success email or my EXP, because I get them confused because I'm hyphenated. So just do the THEDRH team@gmail.com. And that'll.
Okay. And also I was going to say, Chris is going to send the email out. He'll put your contact information in there for coaching. So thank you so much. I'm sorry we went 9 minutes over the hour, but thank you for doing it.
I'll have to audit my time blocking now that we went over.
I know. But thank you. I really appreciate it.
All of you have a very wonderful holiday and a happy new year. And I hope to see you on these again.
Same to
You
you.
too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.